welcome to the Shiney Compulsion podcast. It's just going to be me for the intro this episode. Tim wasn't available today. We spent most of the day yesterday working on the podcast, but it's an interview podcast, and we're not really necessarily set up to interview at this point, but we had an opportunity to interview a friend of ours opening his arcade, and we decided to go through with that. Tim couldn't make it for this. Is the intro and a couple of filler in between clips. Most of this is recorded last night at his friends and family arcade opening. It's Fizzy's Arcade up in Milton on 405. Can't miss it. It's used to be an old cafe and stuff over the years. He's got it rebuilt. Well, refinished, and it's kind of like an 80s or early 90s vintage arcade feel. All kinds of cool stuff, which you'll see during the interviews. But Tim couldn't be here today to do these intros and stuff, so I'm just going to handle them myself. Tim was there for all the other parts, so we will see him in this episode. Like I said, we want to do interviews. We weren't ready to do interviews yet. Like literally, I got this little microphone I'm holding is a Bluetooth one, which is what we got for this. I got them yesterday about 10 minutes before we left to record. Just didn't have time to charge them. So audio is not the best and video is not the best. I have video cameras, but just I'm not set up to do remote recording like this quite yet, but we didn't want to miss the opportunity, so I apologize for the audio and the video. We did the best. Doesn't sound horrible. Volume fluctuates a little bit, and the video you can see what's going on, but it could be better. It will be in the future. But to start out, this is the content that we wanted to have for this episode, and it turned out decent enough, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to pop back in between the clips. We showed up early to record, and we got some time in, but he started getting people popping in, and we had to cut up a couple of times. So if you wonder why that's happening, it's just happened to get interrupted while we were recording, so we only had so much time, so we tried our best. I cut this up to make it useful to listen to instead of having a bunch of cut off clips and everything. All the thoughts are completed. We didn't cut off any ideas or anything, but it kind of cuts off abruptly at a couple points. I'm going to try my best to explain between the clips any missing context we have. But to get this started, we sat down with Brett and his wife ahead of time there. But the first interview is going to be with me, Brett, and Tim. We recorded for most of the interview before someone actually showed up and wanted to come in. And they weren't open yet. Which is a good sign just based on the signs and the frontage. He's got people interested in coming in, which is, that's definitely a good sign. So we will get started there, and I will come back around the time of the first interruption, and we can go from there. I have a studio in the basement, but it's in like kind of a flux phase where I'm still setting up stuff. So I just recorded this in my office. That's why I have all my electronics wired and my soldering. We'll do better next week. We have a studio that's like not a high quality studio, but I'm probably going to maybe put out a short video this week showing it off a little bit. That is one of our new cameras. They're supposed to be 4K. I'm not putting this out at 4K. I'm putting it out at HD 1080. But a 4K camera is going to help out with the quality of the video. So that's one thing we upgraded. I have these microphones for interviews, and I have some new software we're looking at to do remote interviews. but we are working on this. Like I said, Tim couldn't be here today to record this part of the episode, but he did take part in all of the stuff we did last night. We're still trying to get the feel on when we're going to record and all that stuff. We've kind of had an unusual first 2 weeks, but we wanted to put something out. We spent a lot of time talking and stuff, but we're still fleshing out what we're going to be. So here is the first chunk of the interview with Brett from Fizzy's Arcade in Milton.
So we weren't planning on having an interview episode this soon in our podcast, but we have our friend here at Fizzy's Arcade, the only arcade we have in our area. So we decided we had to try to get up here before his grand opening so we could give a talk and help promote him a little bit. And we're going to hand off to him here. He can kind of give us an explanation of how this works. There's not a whole lot here that we haven't seen in the 80s, but it is 2025. So remember that this is a new place, not an old place. So we got Brett, and of course we know Tim.
Yep.
We're just, this was 405. Is it still 405?
405.
So
yep.
405.
PA 405.
Right outside of Milton, there's a nice sign out front that says Fizzy's Arcade, and it's got the old Pac-Man ghost on it, and there's something else that I can't see. But,
it's a soda.
So you can't miss it. They have, what I say from coming in, you come in here, you have the action figures, which I'm going to go around and do a tour later. We have all the nice old machines. I don't want to say old in a bad way. Vintage, retro machines.
Vintage, yeah.
Pinball. There is a pool table. He's even got a Dance Revolution machine.
Air hockey.
Over here, he's got himself a projector. Right now, Breakfast Club is playing. He's got a bunch of bar tables for people to sit and play games, watch the movie. VHS back there, and a bunch of old systems. We'll go around and look at that later, but I'm going to hand it off to you.
Yeah.
To talk about your
Fizzy's Arcade.
project.
Yeah, so, I mean, thank you for that, and thank you for coming in here. This has been kind of a passion project for my wife and I for a while. Like, for the past over a year, we've been discussing it and kind of planning it, but I started refurbishing and collecting stand-up video games probably like 12, 13 years ago. Like,
Okay.
I was like, one day I was like, I'm gonna get a Donkey Kong Jr.
So that was your first
That was
machine?
my first game.
Yep.
And I bought an empty Donkey Kong Jr. cabinet from a guy who I ended up becoming friends with. And then I needed a monitor. And then I bought a monitor, an old CRT monitor from a guy who I ended up becoming friends with. And they were all in the hobby, and they would say, oh, you should go to this website and join this forum and join this group and do this. So I was like, okay. And then I started meeting more people in the community. This is when I lived in Arizona. And I refurbished it, and then I was like, I want another game.
Yep.
And I want another game, and I want another game, and it becomes addictive, like getting tattoos, right? It's like, once you get one, then you're like, well, another one would look nice.
Yeah, it's like one thing I've talked to Ryan about, whatever you're super passionate about, whatever you love, if you know how many you have, you don't have enough. So that's like,
Absolutely.
that's like
Yes,
my
that's
motto.
absolutely the big thing. And that's definitely how I live, because I have 10,000 of everything, which you have seen. We have, like, some of my favorites. He's got down on the end here, which we're going to tour. It's Area 51, which was one of my favorites growing up. My favorite one of all time he doesn't have, but I know that's hard to get, the Ninja Turtle one.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's got their favorite, and everybody likes a lot of the same ones, and unfortunately people know that, so those ended up being the more expensive ones. Like, someone recently was like, because we have pinball machines too, and someone recently online was like, oh, it'd be nice if you had an Addams Family, and I was like, yeah, you want to give me $12,000 so I can go buy one at the Addams Family pinball store that they don't have?
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to buy one of those, the cheap, like, $300 ones you can buy at Walmart, and they have the Ninja Turtle one, and it's sold out instantly everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's jacked up
the
in price.
arcade one-up ones.
Yeah, Arcade One-Up, it's been a big storm, a lot of people doing that. But, you right here, you have the real things. No Arcade One-Ups, no like modders, no emulation.
No, and I think there's a place for those. Like, in your home, like, we don't have a lot of room, or you want a game that plays multiple games. We were talking about the Nintendo systems earlier, because we have console stations. But I don't have an old NES with the cartridges. I mean, I do at home.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna bring that here, so someone has to blow on it and do all that kind of stuff.
The hardware that old might not hand up to commercial use that many for.
Absolutely. And to top it all off, putting an old NES on an HDMI TV, so then you need a tube TV, which I have, which you gave me one actually not that long ago. I have that, but again, it's just like, get the NES minis, and you have all that emulated on there, and it works just fine. So there's a time and a place for that kind of stuff, but for the stand-up at an arcade that you're going to pay for, I think that's not the place for that. But at home, yes, by all means. I think I actually have no problem. There's a lot of people in the collecting community who's like, oh, arcade one-ups. Oh, I don't know. It's not original hardware. It's not original monitor. It's like, dude, it's 2025. You said it earlier. Sometimes it's not easy to fix these monitors. So I'll be honest with you. Some of my monitors are LCD monitors because I just need to get monitors in them. I have no choice.
Yeah, they're not the easiest thing to come by anymore either.
No, CRTs, like, there was a while there where you could get them, or even like old tube TVs at Goodwill. They don't even take them anymore. I know at the skate rink down in Sunbury, they had a drive where you bring your TVs, and I remember going there, and there was like hundreds of these CRTs, and I was like, I bet you I could convert some of those to arcade monitors, because you can in some circumstances. But anyway, it's a process, and they're expensive, and they break, and they're not new, and you need old parts, and you need all sorts of things. So
at the end of the day, 99% of people aren't gonna be able to tell the difference. When you're sitting in an arcade machine, you're not gonna, as long as it plays.
Absolutely,
most people can't tell the difference.
Absolutely, and I've said this because you'll see some of our games are a little beat up. The track and field, you were talking about that one before we started recording, how you like playing that, or you were talking about that. And it's beat up. This is not a museum. This is an arcade. You know, if it was in my personal collection at home, yes, I might restore it and invest a bunch of money in it because it's part of my collection. But if it's something for kids and adults to just do that to, let it be beat up. I'm okay with that. I clean them, and I try to make them look as good as some of them look better than others. But at the end of the day,
well, you have it feels. I mean, there is some modern stuff here. You have your cash machine. But if you look around this doesn't look too far off of something you might have seen in the 80s or early 90s.
That was our inspiration, you know. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got like the black, and like he has the well, I'll give a video of it later, but he's got snacks that maybe are a little bit more pricey than you would buy at Walmart or wherever, but he's got the Nerds package that has the slide off with 2 flavors instead of just the generic dollar Walmart. Like, it's got the feel, like he's got the, what's the lollipop thing's called?
The push pops?
Push pops.
Yeah.
Fun dip. Cool stuff over there
That's a classic one, right?
Yeah, you can find this stuff, but like he's got like the vintage looking versions of it, and that makes like
it's authentic.
It feels like it's like 1990. I would say 1985, but like the machines are beat up enough that it doesn't look brand new. So it looks like we're doing 1990.
I mean, listen, we were all teenagers in the 90s, and I remember going to arcades even then. I remember when Mortal Kombat 2 came out.
That was like a huge explosion in the arcade scene.
My friends and I said to my mom, can I go? And she's like, yes. And she had rolls of quarters that she had like saved up or something. She's like, here. She gave me like 2 rolls of quarters, and we went to, it was Aladdin's Castle. This is when I grew up in Wisconsin. Aladdin's Castle at Easttown Mall. And they had, it seemed like in my pea brain back then, it seemed like 20 different Mortal Kombat 2s. And everybody was sitting there. Nobody knew how to play it. We only knew how to play Mortal Kombat 1. We didn't know all the fatalities and babalities and all that kind of stuff. But it was just a blast because we were all there together. And that's kind of like what this is. Like, I know people have console games at home. Some people are gamers and they play, you know, their, you know, whatever, online shooting games, or they play, the kids play, shit, I can't think of the names of it, but you know what I'm talking about. Kids play online like games, Fortnite, thank you. Fortnite, and Minecraft, and all that kind of stuff that you can sit at your home and play. But when you come together, and it almost helps form a community, right? Because you have a common place that you can come to.
Well, that's what they call, I believe it's like third place syndrome. That we don't have a third place anymore. We always had work or school, home, mall, bowling alley, video arcade, and this generation has kind of lost the third place. They can still play video games with their friends, but they're sitting in their bedrooms.
Headsets.
And you lose that community, because like back in the 80s, we all had an NES, Nintendo, for those who don't know the original one.
Yep.
Like,
Hey, don't forget
you
Atari.
just took your cartridge and you went to your friend's house and played.
Absolutely.
Everybody had the same system.
I'd have friends who had games that I didn't have. You know, my friend would come over with Legend of Zelda 2 when that came out. Or my one friend, I remember when Super Mario Brothers 2 came out.
Yeah.
And we were all excited about this game, and he got it, and we had a sleepover at his house, and we all played Super Mario Brothers 2 all night long.
Yeah, and you passed the controller off and you just did whatever. I remember like when we got my first Nintendo was my uncle. My parents got divorced and we lived with my grandparents in the meantime, and my uncle had a Nintendo. Mm-hmm. He was like 5 or 6 years older than me. We didn't know how to do anything. The only game we had was Mario. We didn't understand 2 players. So every once in a while we'd get that little green and white Mario out there and we didn't know what it was. Because we didn't understand multiplayer or how that thing works. But like that was the different thing is you took turns. You played Mario. I played until I died and then he played until he died and then I came. Like games aren't like that anymore.
No, not so much. And yeah, it was. I like that where you talk about the third place. Like, I noticed that with my kids. My kids are in junior high and high school. We have kids about the same age, and it's like I feel like, and I'm not going to blame this on that because it was probably coming anyway. But like with the pandemic that happened, it's like some things like kind of shut down, and people were like, "We're gonna not go to these places." I mean, I know malls have been going out of existence for a long time, but
I think it's sad. I see from like the last time a new mall was built was like 2006. But at this day and age,
you don't need it.
When you can't go to the mall. Well, honestly, in the 90s, most of the stores in the mall, everything was overpriced because you couldn't buy it anywhere else.
That's true.
But now when you have online, it's hard to have a store. But it's nice to see like, especially how you're running this place where you just pay to get in and then you play.
So that's one thing that I always wanted to do too. One, it saves me on having to deal with quarters or tokens. That's a pain in the ass. And dealing with the coin mechs that are in all the games, right? Because it's bad enough to like, I've been fixing games even today before you guys came. I was replacing joysticks on the Robotron over there. One of the guns on the Area 51, I can't get to work for whatever reason. So there's constantly stuff that I'm trying to like fix and do. But the coin mechs, like people put in Canadian coins or pennies and slugs and all that kind of stuff, but thinking that it's going to work and it's not. It just mucks up the work.
If something doesn't work and they just start shoving stuff in. I do the vending machines at work, and one day someone decided that in the change slot they're going to put $1, and they folded it up and they shoved it in the change slot. So you never know what you're going to get. So it's one less thing to take care of.
So I was talking about the guy who I bought my first monitor from.
I wanted to get back to kind of like your origin and stuff like that.
So, I'll get back to that in a second, but his name is Steve, and he actually owns an arcade down in Mesa, Arizona, and it's called Starfighters, and they're huge. It's huge now because a couple of different collectors all got together with their collections, and now they've added and stuff. But and they weren't the first to do this, but I like their model of paying at the door. And they even do memberships, like monthly memberships that people can pay and be able to come in and go. So we'll see like where we are with that. If we get a regular that comes in enough, maybe we'll do that. But yeah, $15 at the door, and everything's free. Pool, air hockey. You can sit around and play board games. You can play pinball. I mean, we have 2 brand new Stern pinball machines. Well, brand new, relatively brand new. Godzilla and Stranger Things. They came out a couple years ago. And it's free. So you can come here, and I want to eventually. We have 10 pinball machines right now. I want to get more, but I want to start getting pinball more in this community.
Because there's even like clubs around the area, and even like pinball competitions and stuff like that. Even like if you look on the Stern's website, like you said, you mentioned you have 2 of the games. You can connect to the internet and like play like in virtual tournaments. But there's even like and I'm sure you've seen it like online, like pinball rankings and like international societies of pinball and stuff like that. Would actually have like tournaments, and I think it's great. You have all these pinball machines in this area.
It's really good, and there is an actual distributor who's down in Sunbury. We went to their place.
That's where we had our first date.
It is.
We weren't dating each other, but we double dated because our wives play roller derby, and we just wanted to get out. So that was the first time that we actually met and got a chance to really talk a whole lot, because we kept trying to meet up, and it's just like nothing would line up, and we get different tables, and that was like, so that was and he showed that I'm not good at pinball, and he's way better.
You just got to practice.
But just as your business model, like that's what killed arcades is when you started having to pay $1 or $2 to play 3 minutes. So you're removing.
Do you remember? Do you guys? This was actually from the '80s. Do you remember Dragon's Lair?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that game, one of the most beautiful games in the world, right? And I remember being a little kid just staring at it and seeing all the big kids play it, and I was just like, and that was 50 cents to play.
Yep.
And talk about being dead in 3 seconds. Like it's like 50 cents and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't like tap that button super quick, you were like a goner.
I never made it past the drawbridge. That's like the first scene, but it's a beautiful looking game, right? It's all cartoon laserdisc a game. But yeah, so getting back to where I was, so I started refurbing games and collecting games and getting into pinball. And there was a scene happening in Phoenix where they would do a yearly convention called ZapCon.
Yep.
And I bought some brand new pinball machines. And then, like with anything, you know, my kids weren't playing them anymore. Things got in the way, so I ended up selling them. And then we moved here.
Yep.
And when we moved here, I was like, you know what? I really want to
Get back into it. Yeah.
And like to do something, right? A hobby, you know what I'm talking about, with your million hobbies.
Yeah.
But to tinker around. And so I bought a cocktail Miss Pac-Man that wasn't working.
Yep.
And I fixed it and made it work. And I was like, maybe I'll get another one. It started again.
Yeah.
The same pattern.
The desire,
And
the
then-
burn. Yep.
And then my wife and I were talking one night after we went to Pin Bar, which is the pinball place in Sunbury. It's like, you know, it'd be nice to have an arcade,
Yep.
like with video games and old pinball machines, because Pin Bar has new pinball machines,
Yep.
which is great. But I wanted some of the older ones as well. And so I was like, there's nothing like that here. There's a place in Scranton called Bartari. There's a couple places, I think, down in Harrisburg.
Yeah, in York as well.
In York. But
Yep.
those are hour and a half drives away.
They're far enough away where like you're not gonna. It's not a big enough destination to make a 2-hour drive, but if you're down there, you'll do it.
Exactly. So, and then Allentown every year has the Pin Fest.
Okay.
And so we had gone there a couple of times, and I was like, you know, the itch started coming back.
Like, I gotta scratch. I gotta fix.
Yeah, I need my fix.
Yep.
So we were just talking about, like I said, like a little over a year ago, and we're like, you know, it would be cool if we opened our own place. And in Phoenix, we had a bunch of places that had specialty sodas. So it was like, you'd go to a place and it'd be like Pepsi, but with different flavorings. And they have really cool names and everything like that. And we missed that place. So she was like, well, I think it'd be cool if we had a soda place. And I was like, I think it would be cool if we had an arcade.
Yeah.
Why don't we just mix that and open our own place?
Yep.
And right about that time, it was about a couple weeks later, she noticed that the Bucknell University was having a small business development center seminar.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And so she goes, I'm going to go down there
Yep.
and see what it's all about. And she went down there, she talked to a couple of people down there and told them our idea. And they were like, you might be onto something. Let's talk after this meeting.
Oh, that's great.
And so she talked to them, and then we started putting together a business plan. I had never put together a business plan. My wife had never put together a business plan. I've never owned a business. She's never owned a business. Google, type, hand in stuff, get it corrected by the small business, and that's all free.
Yeah.
That's all free. And even through Penn State Law School, they have free services to help us establish our LLC. So a lot of the stuff that we did was free of charge.
Yeah.
And it's awesome when you can take advantage of that. So I highly recommend, and it's not just Bucknell that does it. There's small business development centers everywhere, at least
In any state.
in any state.
Yep.
And you can, get all of the assistance that you need. And it's all from college students, basically taking classes.
Yep.
But they know it more than I do.
That's what they're gonna do when they grow up. So you're a practice for them, and it benefits you and it benefits them. So take advantage
absolutely.
of it.
So and then we found this place that hadn't been anything in a while, but everybody's told us that it's been everything before. Like it was a cafe.
Yeah, I wanted to mention to everyone who's listening, if you're familiar with My House Cafe back in the day, this is the exact location. There was a lot of like shows and bands playing here and stuff. So if you remember My House Cafe, where you're in the exact same spot it is now, and I'm telling you, it looks great in here.
Thank you.
All you need is a Godfather's Pizza in the corner. If they had that where you were from, that was always my favorite arcade growing up. They had one, I think it was the one I went to was Indiana, Pennsylvania, but it had like the guitar or the arcade feel, and then the rip-off Pizza Hut pizza.
Nice.
But that's the same one that's in Goonies, where Chunk.
Yeah.
They talk about But this kind of makes me think of that. It's like right around the time period.
Well, and the thing about food,
food's a whole new monster. Yeah,
it is, and it's like licensing and costs, and I don't know shit about that. I can swear, right?
Yeah, you can swear.
I don't know shit about that. And so one thing that we've done is reached out to local food trucks.
Oh, that's great.
And like, hey, you want to park here and sell your wares? So we have one coming. Next weekend's our grand opening, March 7th, 8th, and 9th. We're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I should say that, because I do have a real, quote-unquote, real job. So anyway, we're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and so they're going to come out next Saturday, and they have like fair food, like corn dogs and churros and stuff like that. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot of business. Like, I'm friends with the people that own a brewery in Northumberland. They can't really get a kitchen in there, so they get food trucks every Saturday.
Yeah,
that's just what you do.
More popular these days,
But it's hard to open a restaurant, which you have to have the full kitchen, you have to meet the health codes, you have to be served safe, you have to have, at that point, that's not what you're going for here. It would become more work to run the restaurant than it would become to run the arcade.
Yep. Absolutely.
So have you like purchased like all your games? Have you gone to auctions? Have you like traded with people like within the community? Like, how have you got most of the machines here?
Yeah, so a majority of them, I would say a little less than half of them, I reached out to, so I was talking about those forums that I ended up becoming a part of, and there was a guy selling a couple games up in Buffalo. And I reached out to him, and he goes, well, I have some more games for sale too. He was downsizing. His daughter's growing up, and he's trying to move to a different house, a smaller house. And so he gave me a list, and there was like 20 games on this. Originally, there was like 12 games, and I was like, sold. And I was like, yeah, I'll take this. And he goes, well, you're opening an arcade, right? And I was like, yeah. He goes, that's awesome. How about these other games too? And he started throwing games. He's like, this doesn't work, but I'll give it to you. And I'm like, I will try to get it to work. I'll try to get it to work. And so that was in November. And right after December, we got the keys to this place December 1st, so 3 months ago today. And we drove up there at the beginning of December. And took a big-ass U-Haul. And drove up to Buffalo in the snow. It really sucked. Fortunately, it wasn't that bad. I was thinking it was like the weekend before, the weekend after. It was like, if you ever watch the Bills games, you know, like they have people out there shoveling. Lake effect. So we were right there, like by Niagara Falls. Is where this guy lives, and so we anyway, we went up there, loaded up the truck, and got a majority of the games from him. And then yes, there's an auction, Jaybird Auctions out of Maryland. It's about 2.5 hours south of us. And they, once a month, they have an auction, and they have a lot of arcade games every month. And they just had one, and I was looking at it, but I was like, nothing I really wanted this time. I'm a little busy to drive down there. So I bought a handful of games from him, and then a couple of pinball machines got online from people from these forums, and had them shipped out here. So it's kind of just a conglomeration, not a really, there was a local lady who reached out to us when we announced that we were opening, and she's like, I have an Asteroids, a Gorgar pinball, and a pool table. Would you like them? And so we went over there. Well, it just so happens that her granddaughter is friends with our daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she sold those games to us, and I got them fixed up and working while they had been kind of neglected for a while, but Yeah,
and I also saw like in one of your posts for Fizzy's Arcade, you were actually promoting to other people like, hey, if you have games, you're interested. So like definitely, like if people are interested, they can reach out to you if they have some games they might want to trade or sell to you. Like you're still collecting, you're still out there. In that market.
I am. It's kind of slowed down right now while we get things started and situated, but yes, to your point about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there's always these games that you're looking for, right?
Everybody wants them, and they cost a lot compared.
They cost a lot, but if they're available, I would love to get them. So yeah, if anybody had games that they want to get rid of, and I always think about this, like growing up, when I was a little kid, we did have a pinball machine in my house.
Yeah.
I was like, there was always someone in the neighborhood who was like, oh yeah, we have a video game, or we have a pinball machine. So maybe someone out there is like, yeah, my grandfather had this Dragon's Lair sitting in the basement for 25 years. You know, I don't know what it's worth. I'll take it off your hands for free.
Get it fixed up and have people use it. Sometimes people just want to see something from their childhood being used, you know, and not just sitting in the corner collecting dust.
Absolutely, and that's what I found, like, with the guy, his name was Jamie, who lives up in Buffalo. When I told him we were opening an arcade, that's when he was like, oh, well, I have all this other stuff. Because he knew that it wasn't going to get resold, or it wasn't going to get
You're not looking to make a profit, on a machine.
Absolutely. Well, I am, but not by selling it.
You're not trying to flip the machine.
You're trying to make money to let people play the machine. To flip it.
And then Darlene, she's the lady who sold us those other games that I was just talking about. You know, she reached out to us because we were opening an arcade, and she knew that they were going to get used, and they were sitting there at her house, and she has a granddaughter who's 13 who's like, I don't care about Gorgar. You know? So, you know, that's how that happened. So I definitely always looking for something new.
And that's why I think a lot of your audience is going to be people our age, more than 12-year-olds, but people our age have 12-year-olds, and they're going to come see us play something fun, and they're, oh, that looks stupid, and then they see us playing how much fun it actually is. You don't need high-end graphics.
No, and I will say this, there's some games that they might be like, that looks so stupid. And it's like, okay, try to beat my score in Donkey Kong. I guarantee you probably can, but it's going to take you a while to do that. Oh, speak of the devil, I think that's...
So it might have. I think. Do we want to pause this for a little bit and come back? Or
if you guys want to.
So we'll be back later.
Hello.
And that's right where we had a woman and her grandson, who thought Brett was open, and they wanted to come in. Obviously, he's not open yet. He let them, look around and, we're open next week and all that stuff. He said he had a few people showing up during a day like that, which is a good sign for any business owner. Your road sign and your building signs are enough to bring in customers. So we had stopped temporarily there, and we're going to pick up here. This is in between the first distraction and the second one. We had a couple of these, so sorry, this is a little jumbled and all over the place. We'll do the best we can. Here's part two, where we start looking at some of the game machines.
All right, so we got someone actually tried to come in even though they're not open, so we got distracted. That's why we got cut off. But while we have a second here, or before the party starts, we're going to take a tour here. So I'm going to spin this back around. And we got Brett. And we got the thing that Tim was pointing out, up here, I'm going to focus on this. So you got your weekly high score posts up there.
Yeah. Well, it says high scores of the week right now. I might just change that to say high scores. It depends. I might erase them every week. But basically what we have, like if you're playing, we'll go over to track and field. If you were playing and you scored whatever score you get, you can take your phone out, and there's a QR code right here. And if you scan it, it'll take you to a website, and it's our own personal website. And you put your initials in, whatever they are, and then you put your score in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, and then you post your score, and it says new grand champ, and then within a matter of seconds, I don't know how many seconds, but as soon as it gets to track and field, it's all alphabetical. As soon as it gets to track and field, you'll see my score up. So anybody, as they're playing any game that's in here, as long as it has this, which every game, except for the Stern pinball machines, I haven't put those on there yet. I got to print them out. But they can scan it, and then they'll be on the high score leaderboard. With the Stern games, there's something different. Tim was talking about this earlier. Stern has their own thing called the Insider Connected, and it's this app that you scan your own QR code, and then you're like logged into the game, and it'll track, and you get like badges. Yep. So it'll be like, oh, you just destroyed Tokyo on Godzilla, you win this badge. So they're like gaming the game, basically, and making it like a video game version of pinball. So of course it's going to take forever to get to track and field. So we could talk about something else in the meantime, or you could fast forward this part.
Yeah, well, there's probably going to be a lot of that. Because I'd imagine you're probably going to get your people coming soon, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, and as time goes along, have you ever thought about, like, you know, like, I know some places have tournaments and stuff like that. Are you thinking about, like, tournaments in the future?
Absolutely. Besides pinball, I did think about doing something like that. I remember one of my friends hosted a Donkey Kong tournament. He called it, well, they used to have like the professional ones called the Kong-offs. So we called it the knockoff.
Yeah.
And we all got together and just drank and played Donkey Kong for the high score, and there was prizes and stuff like that. So I want to do something like that where it's like, hey, or for the weekend, right? It's like a high score for the weekend.
Yep.
It's like free admission, a free admission pass or something. So you could come in here and log your scores. The other cool thing about that is I could actually get someone to have to take a picture of it to prove what there is. But
Like the old days with the Polaroid, and then you put it on the wall.
yeah, right.
Back in the day, some controversy with Donkey Kong and some tournament or some guy had high scores. It was like cheating for a while.
Billy Mitchell. Yeah, he's notorious for being who he is. Oh, that's teed off. So track field's coming, but Billy Mitchell was the Donkey Kong champ for many years.
Yep.
And I guess the controversy was that he did it on an emulation.
Yep.
See, there it is.
Yep.
Track and field.
There's the score that he just put up there. I'm just going to get up close so we can read it. But so it's relatively live.
Yeah.
On how it works.
Yeah, it recycles like every 30 seconds or something.
So that's an added bonus.
Yeah.
We have competitions, and we know how we like competitions.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing, is like to keep people like, oh, who's on the high score? I mean, some people don't care, but some people do.
Yeah, I'm going to be one that cares.
Yeah, well, you got to beat 123,455 that I didn't score on track and field, actually. Some of these games, too, I'm like, is there a high score? Like, I have one for Street Fighter, but I'm like, is there really a high score for Street Fighter? Probably
No,
not.
it's more like, hey, I came and I beat my friend like 3 times in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then there's air hockey, which I love air hockey. I don't know if everybody does, but I love it.
People hate to play me in air hockey.
Then I guess we're going to play, huh?
'Cause my only problem is I can't beat left-handed people very easily, but right-handed people I'm really good at. Although I haven't played for more than a couple games in 20 years.
And another interruption there. So we've got a quick break here. We're going to go into the next set of clips. We're going to kind of take a look at a couple more of the games, a little bit of more talk, and then we're going to get interrupted again, and I'll be back after that. So here is some more of that interview with Brett.
We got interrupted again.
We're probably going to get interrupted again. Bro.
So if this seems crazy, this is the first time that we're doing this in this general way. We're going to try to cut this together and make it look appropriate, but we'll try our best.
Make it look professional.
But we are about 10 minutes away from his grand opening for friends and family, so it's probably not going to last too much longer. But we can just take a quick look here. So up first, he's got Space Invaders. Everybody knows Space Invaders.
Classic.
I used to play this. I think they had it in a gas station around where I live.
Also, another great game on a 2600 was Space Invaders.
Yeah.
'Cause you use the.
Yep.
Didn't you use the paddle controllers? Yep.
Yeah, Missile Command was another favorite of mine.
Missile Command's over there. He's got all the classics. Robotron.
It's a great game.
Good old Defender.
Defender. Keep going.
Galaga. He's got Donkey Kong 3, which I don't know if I've ever actually played
Donkey
that
Kong
one.
3 is basically Galaga, but with Donkey Kong. You're this guy. You're not Mario. You're this guy named Stanley, and he's trying to get Donkey Kong out of his garden. I don't know why Donkey Kong's in his garden, but it's basically these insects come down. It's like I said, it's a lot like Galaga because you got these bugs flying down at you.
Yeah, I think at some point I'm going to come in and try to get like actual footage of some of these old games for you young people, because I'm sure all these young people are watching our podcast.
Keep going, guys.
And we got classic Miss Pac-Man, Track and Field. This is the one you liked, right?
Yeah, one of my favorites from back in the day.
I don't remember if I ever played that one, but I remember seeing it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to play against each other.
Yeah, we'll post the high scores and get the scores at the end of the night.
Yep.
One of my favorites over here, X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Yep,
I used
classic.
to play that like crazy. There's the Missile command, just like we had back in the old days.
Yeah, that looks
The-
very
the
much
nice-
like the Atari version.
The
from the console.
the trackball controls are pretty cool. Punch Out, which I don't know if I've ever played this on in an arcade. I have it for Nintendo.
Yeah, so it's a lot different for the arcade because Mike Tyson's Punch Out is the one we all grew up playing.
Yeah.
But this was the original version of Punch Out that they made the NES game off of. So it's a good game. It's fun. It's hard.
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
these games are
always
really
hard.
hard. Yep.
And then this one is I don't
Berserk.
recognize it. Berserk. Okay, I remember this game.
Yep.
I don't remember that logo though.
Yeah.
It looks really cool because it's like that early '80s style. But yeah, I remember this game. Early on, people are like, "What the hell is that?" It's actually fun to play.
No, this game is a blast, and it's cool because like if you take your time and you don't shoot the robots or whatever, then this smiley face comes out and it tries to kill you. Yeah, it tries to kill you.
We're starting to get people in again, but I'm gonna go to the end of the row here. We got good old. It's hard to see because the light's bright, but it's Donkey Kong, and we're gonna stop now as we're getting people come in, and we will be back at some point later.
And that's where we got interrupted again. So up next, this is going to take place after the party. I'm going to talk to Christina, and we got a kind of overview of the specialty soda and stuff. Brett referred to that earlier. Christina's going to give us a minute or two explaining that. I did have her make me a drink. I'm diabetic, and I have some restrictions on what I can eat. I can't have cream or anything. So she made me a special, what I call the Roller Bear special. It was Diet Dr. Pepper with cherry syrup, kind of like what I used to get at Denny's a million years ago when you could get that. But she's got a lot of good choices there. I take some video of the menu, and she explains her favorite one, and I will hand this off to her.
Okay, it's been a crazy night, but we're towards the end of the night, so we're gonna talk to Christina here about the specialty soda stuff. So we'll pass it up to her.
All right. Hi, I'm Christina. And so the reason we came up with the specialty sodas menu is because when we lived in Phoenix, there were soda shops, a lot of different soda shops. And it's something that I missed from there. So I wanted to bring that aspect to the arcade. So we put together some recipes, some different drinks, just to like zhuzh up your soda. So this one at the top is my favorite. It's called the I'll Be Back. It has 7-Up as the base soda, and then we add peach, blue curacao. I always say that word wrong, and I probably just said it wrong again. Cranberry, and we put some fresh lime in there. Mix it up, and it's fantastic. So that's my favorite one. If you are a energy drink type person, we also have some energy drinks. And then sodas can be purchased without the specialty. It's just if you want something a little bit extra, we've got that for you.
Yeah, those soda and stuff is really good. My son had the I'll Be Back that she described there. He really liked it. He doesn't like soda. He doesn't like carbonation, but he said, in the glass with the ice, he really liked it. So everything there looks good. I didn't get video of the candy and stuff that they have, but he's got like it reminds me of like video rental places. They kind of had like that display right by the cash register with like nerds and a couple other things. A lot of cool stuff like that. And I did shoot a promo video, which I'm probably going to throw here at the end, which is sort of a tour of the place. He has, I didn't go talk to him a lot about it, but he has a old CRT TV in the corner with a VHS and a bookcase full of old movies. He has this corner set up with tables for people to play board games and all that, but he's also got a projector hooked up. I think you might see that in the background. When we were there, he had played Breakfast Club, Masters of the Universe, and there was another one I can't remember off the top of my head. And he had like Stand By Me and Gremlins playing on the small TV. really good place to go, especially for people my age. It really made me, it took me back to when I was a kid, teenager. So I recommend going there, and I know Tim's going to say the same thing, but I'm going to go up there and work with him to get some more videos of the games and kind of like maybe a little history lesson of some of them, because Brett's very knowledgeable. So that will be coming as bonus content at some point. But that's going to be it for this week. We're going to be back next week. I think my goal is to put these episodes out Sunday night, Monday morning. We are on Spotify after the first week. Once I get some more free time when I'm not setting up behind the scenes, I'll have the RSS feed, so you can subscribe on all your podcast or music software. But for now, the video portion's going on YouTube, and the audio version is going on Spotify, which, if you follow us on Facebook, which is the only social media we have, at the Shiney Compulsion podcast, which you probably know because you're watching it. But that is where our collection of information is currently. We're still getting all that sorted out because we're only about a week in. And I've been focusing more on the technical side and setting up a studio area and all that. But I have a few more interviews that I plan on doing in the near future. I still have to talk to my friends out in Pottsville. I'm hoping that we can go and get a behind-the-scenes look at the Rage Parade skate shop, and they have clothes and stuff, but it's run by friends of mine, Lolly Rott and her husband, from the Schuylkill County Scream Queens. And I want to do some interviews with some roller derby players and do an episode explaining roller derby. But we have a lot of content coming out. It's going to be about our different hobbies, but we do want to interview other people on their hobbies or other interesting things, because I wish I could open an arcade. I don't have the space or probably the money to do that, but it's nice to learn about it from someone who does. So I hope you like this episode. If you like the interviews, I know the quality's not good, but I think the content's good. If you want to see more interviews, please let us know in the comments, and you can email us at shinycompulsion@gmail.com. Please note that we spell shiny SHINEY. Yes, I know. We decided that's how we wanted to spell it. Go back to the first episode. It's somewhere around the 2-hour mark where we decide that. But thanks for listening and watching, and we're hoping to improve, and hopefully someone likes this. We'll see you next time.